January 12th, 1943. Bath, Maine. Snowflakes drift sideways under the glare of floodlights as the Kennebec River growls against the frozen pilings. The wind carries the metallic clang of steel plates, the grind of cranes, and the echo of hammers that never seem to stop, not even at midnight. Near the edge of Slipway No. 2, Lieutenant Commander Harold "Hal" Peterson, naval inspector at Bath Iron Works, pulls his collar tight and watches a half-assembled destroyer hull loom in the darkness. Its skeletal frames, keel, stringers, stands like the ribcage of a giant sea creature, illuminated in harsh white light. Behind him, a foreman yells over the howl of the wind. "We're behind again, Hal. The Portland office wants numbers by morning." Peterson doesn't answer immediately. The truth is already written across his face. The U.S. Navy needs destroyers. Fast. The Pacific is swallowing them faster than Bath and Kaiser shipyards can deliver. Guadalcanal, the Solomons, early scraps in the Aleutians. The fleet is stretched thin. Every missing destroyer means sailors fighting without escort screens, convoys exposed, and carrier groups bleeding for lack of picket ships. In Washington, pleas have turned into orders. And Bath Iron Works, one of the finest shipbuilders in America, is buckling under the pressure. Only one man seems to walk through this chaos with purpose. A broad-shouldered manager in a grease-stained wool coat, his steps heavy on the icy catwalk. The man who will do the impossible, though no one knows it yet. Ernest M. "Ernie" Carlton, Senior Production Manager. The Navy knows his reputation: stubborn, inventive, ruthless about efficiency. He's repaired battleships under impossible deadlines. He's solved labor disputes with solutions that made unions nod with respect. He has the mind of an engineer and the instincts of a battlefield commander. Tonight, he pauses beneath the unfinished hull and listens, not to the noise, but to the rhythm of the work. The welder's arcs sputter, pause, sputter. Too inconsistent. Riveters are working in chaotic bursts, no coordination. Foremen are running between crews, shouting duplicate instructions. To Peterson, it's noise. To Carlton, it's a message. He turns to Peterson and asks almost casually, "How long since the last destroyer left the slip?" Peterson sighs. 4 months. And we're not close on this one. Carlton nods slowly. 4 months. For one ship that must reach the Pacific before hundreds of American lives pay the price. He looks up again at the skeletal hull, DD 448's sister ship, a Fletcher-class destroyer. Sleek, deadly, capable of 38 knots and armed with 5 5-inch guns, 10 torpedo tubes, and anti-aircraft batteries that can turn the sky into a metal storm. A perfect weapon for the war America must win. And yet, it sits unfinished, frozen in time and steel. A gust of wind blows sparks across the scaffolding. Men duck, curse, keep working. Carlton watches the flow of labor like a chess player studying an unbalanced board. Then he mutters something Peterson almost doesn't catch. "We're building ships like it's 1918. Peterson frowns. "What's that supposed to mean?" Carlton steps forward as if addressing the ship itself. "We're laying them down before we build them." He points toward the hull. "Every plate, every frame, every system. We're assembling it here, where it's hardest to reach, We should be building this ship somewhere else and just snapping it together on the slip." Peterson laughs, thinking it's sarcasm. Carlton doesn't laugh back. Instead, he walks into the wind toward the prefabrication sheds, long buildings where steel parts are cut and shaped before they're hauled out to the riverfront. Inside, heat blasts from furnaces. Sparks fly from cutting torches. Men in leather aprons move steel sheets as if they weigh nothing. The air smells of oil, hot metal, and sweat. Carlton surveys the building with the look of a commander studying terrain. Separate teams work on plates, beams, bulkheads, small assemblies. But they're all separate. Each piece is crafted perfectly, but in isolation, like parts of a puzzle whose picture no one can see. He turns to Peterson. "This is where the ship should be built." Peterson blinks. "In pieces?" "Ernie, a destroyer isn't a Lego set." Carlton smirks. "No, but maybe it should be." He steps closer to a prefabricated bulkhead standing upright like a steel wall. "Cut it here, weld it here, install wiring here, fit piping here, paint it here, and when everything is right, take the entire section, lift it with a crane, and attach it directly to the hull." Peterson stares. "That would take," Carlton cuts in, "planning, coordination, and a new way of thinking." He runs a gloved hand across the steel. "Prefabrication, full modular construction, entire sections, done before they ever touch the keel." Inside, something else begins to take shape. The blueprint for a revolution that will change American shipbuilding forever. Carlton's voice softens, but carries conviction. "If we do this right, we can finish a destroyer in days, not months." Peterson laughs again, but now there's fear in it. "Days? Ernie, Washington will think you've lost your mind." Carlton looks back at the disjointed crews, inefficient shifts, scattered production lines. "No, Hal. Washington will think we've saved the Pacific." The shipyard trembles under a passing train loaded with fresh steel. The floor vibrates. Carlton doesn't move. Somewhere above them, a riveter's hammer slips and clatters to the ground. Carlton doesn't look up. He just says, "The old way dies tonight." January 15th, 1943. Bath Iron Works, 4:40 a.m. A thin layer of frost coats the drafting room windows as a coal-fired stove crackles in the corner. The rest of the shipyard sleeps, if a place like this ever truly sleeps. But inside this cramped office, a single lamp glows over a sea of papers. Ernest Ernie Carlton stands hunched over a massive blueprint table. His coat is tossed across a chair, sleeves rolled up, spectacles smudged with fingerprints. He's been awake for nearly 22 hours. The only sounds are scratching pencil, sliding rulers, and the ticking clock that refuses to slow down for anyone, not even a war. He draws another line, sharp and confident. A destroyer, broken into pieces. Not chaos, not desperation. A plan, a radical one. Carlton wipes the graphite dust off his hands and steps back to look at what he's created. Before him sits a rendering of a Fletcher-class destroyer, but it's divided into more than 40 large prefabricated units. Midship compartments, deckhouses, engine room sections, forward bulkheads, torpedo bay assemblies, living quarters, fuel cells, and even pre-wired electrical rooms. It is a ship disassembled, a ship built before it's built. Behind him, the office door squeaks open. Lieutenant Commander Peterson steps inside, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Ernie, it's nearly 5, he mutters. "You need rest." Carlton gestures to the table. "Later." Peterson walks forward, gaze drifting over the endless sheets. "What is all this?" Carlton taps a pencil on the largest drawing. "This is how we stop losing time, and how we start beating Kaiser at their own game." Peterson raises an eyebrow. Kaiser. The name carries weight. Henry J. Kaiser, the industrial titan behind the Liberty ships, the man who turned shipbuilding into something closer to assembly line magic. His West Coast yards already stunned the Navy with their speed. Ships completed in weeks, then days, then 4 days, if the rumors were true. But destroyers are far more complex, more weapons, more machinery, more precision. Carlton knows this. Everyone knows this. But he also knows something else. Complexity is not the enemy of speed. Disorganization is. And tonight, for the first time, someone has drawn a map from chaos to order. Carlton spreads another blueprint over the table. This one shows the shipyard itself, not the ships. Lines and arrows represent workers moving through prefabrication sheds, cranes assigned to specific unit pickups, workflow cycles arranged like the turning gears of a colossal clock. Peterson leans over the table, eyes narrowing. This is a complete rewire of the yard. Carlton nods. "We're not going to build a ship. We're going to manufacture it." Peterson exhales a long, white breath in the cold air. "Ernie, the crews won't like this. They've done things the same way since World War I." Carlton almost smiles. "I know. That's why we don't ask." He pulls a sheet with thick black marker notes. It's a new organization plan, a 3-shift rotation, 24 hours non-stop. Each shift inherits progress seamlessly from the one before. "One shift welds," Carlton says. "The next installs machinery. The last verifies, tests, paints, finishes." "Like a relay race," Peterson murmurs. "Exactly. No downtime, no overlap, no lost hours." He points to several large rectangles on the blueprint. "These are modular units, every single one built simultaneously, then assembled like vertebrae along the keel." Peterson shakes his head, stunned. "If this works, if we can attach whole sections at once," Carlton interrupts, voice low, steady, and deadly serious. "It will work, and if it does, we finish destroyers in a fraction of the time. The Pacific gets the screens it needs. Sailors live. Convoys survive. Carriers stay afloat." He pauses, staring at a small penciled note in the corner of his blueprint. "Days, not months." He whispers it again, quieter this time, as if testing the weight of the words. A knock echoes through the drafting room door. A young clerk steps inside, shivering from the cold. "Mr. Carlton, the union representative is here. He says the crews want a word. Something about night shift concerns." Peterson grimaces. "I told you this would happen." Carlton rolls up the blueprints calmly. "Then let's talk," he says. "But not in this room." We take them to the sheds. I want them to see what's coming. The three men step out into the pre-dawn darkness. The shipyard hums with early activity. Cranes warming up, furnaces roaring, steel workers gathering near the sheds. The air is filled with the metallic perfume of industry, frost melting into steam as the shift bells start to ring. Dozens of workers gather beneath the glow of overhead lights. Their faces are tired, skeptical, hardened by cold and endless hours. At the front stands Tom Bascom, a union representative with arms like tree trunks and a voice that normally echoes across the river. He crosses his arms. "Carlton," Bascom says, "the men are hearing rumors. You're planning changes. Big ones." Carlton steps forward, blueprints under his arm. "I am." Bascom scowls. "And you didn't think to tell us first?" Carlton meets his stare steadily. "There's a war on, Tom, and we're going to win it. Together." Bascom opens his mouth to retort, but Carlton lifts a hand. "And if you want to see how, follow me." He walks toward the sheds. The workers exchange glances, then follow. For the first time, the blueprint for America's next industrial miracle is about to be revealed.